Hey everybody, I'm back in Canada now and things should start settling down soon. My brother and I will be recording again next week. He's done some more gameplay, we will go into Alfheimer and see what that's all about. And I'll keep up with the same format as last time. But in the meantime, I just wanted to do a quick Q&A just to address a couple of questions that I've gotten since the last Q&A that I did. The first one was a question that I got from Dakota Dunn, and it has to do with how I got to where I am now. I absolutely love this channel and hearing me explain things. Wish I had a teacher like you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It's very nice to hear things like that. I do love what I do. I think I have the best job in the world. Absolutely. How did I get to where I am now? Did I always love mythology and wanted to do this for a living, or was it just a random thing that happened and I pursued it? And do I have any advice for someone who wants to get to where I am now? So it's kind of a weird, long, convoluted story about how I got to where I am. When I was a kid, I was growing up in Minnesota, and my parents offered to send me to a summer camp, and I don't know, I think I had read a book that had gotten me really, really interested in Denmark. It's called Number the Stars by Lois Lowry. In any case, I got really obsessed with Denmark and had learned about these language camps in northern Minnesota called Concordia Language Villages. And so I said, I want to go to those language camps. I'm like totally mixed heritage, American, Danish is one of like the many, many parts of my background. But I just thought it was cool and it was different. And I grew up in a small town, and I knew it would be something that like nobody else I knew was going to do. So I went to Danish camp, and that was about when I was like, I don't know, like 13 years old, 12 or 13. And I went for a couple years just as like a for fun thing, and then for a few years after that I did a full like month-long high school credit session. So I learned Danish at that time, and that was sort of like the gateway to my obsession with the Nordic countries and Nordic languages specifically. So that was, really a pivotal point in my life. And when I went to undergraduate studies at Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota, I decided I'm going to take Scandinavian studies as like a fun major. And like I did the thing where I'm like, I'm going to be an accounting major, I'm going to be a biology major. And in the end, I ended up being a double major in Scandinavian studies and religion, like the study of religion. I was just fascinated by studying religion as, a human phenomenon, and as something that, has dictated how people have viewed the world, and how they've understood the world, and meant it basically since forever. So not just Norse mythology, but Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, and various other types of pre-Christian mythologies and religions. So I ended up getting a double major in that, and I went straight to graduate school, and I went to graduate school at the University of Wisconsin. And something I became really fascinated with when I was studying both religion and Scandinavian studies was the Middle Ages, and specifically Old Norse literature. I got really into studying the sagas of Icelanders, and I was really fascinated by Norse mythology and the Viking Age, but more generally with kind of religion and the influence of religion in medieval Scandinavia, and that transition from pre-Christian religion to Christianity, and the kind of impact that had on things like gender and social structure and various ideals of life. So when I went to graduate school, I started studying Old Norse and found out that I really, really liked that. And decided that was going to sort of be my focus. So my specialization is Old Norse language and manuscripts. So I work specifically with, directly with Old Norse manuscripts, and transcribing them and editing texts that have not been edited before, or producing new editions of texts whose editions are like out of date or something like that. So I focus mostly on religious literature. I'm really interested in how different sort of models for being were being held up, specifically for women. And so I have written quite a lot on the saints, sort of as models. And there's some interesting stuff with how the saints, in some way, can be said to have sort of taken over in some way from some of the Norse pantheon, patron saints taking over for and taking the function of some of the Norse gods who were, specific to certain things you sacrificed to or gave offerings to certain gods in order to, have certain things happen, to Frey for fertility and, agricultural fertility, to Freya / Frigg for, love and reproductive fertility, to, Odin in battle, all of that sort of thing. So, it was really, I just kind of really leaned into just continuing to do what I loved doing. And when I finished my PhD in 2012, there was a job posting for a Scandinavian Studies professorship that had been newly established in Edmonton. They already had one. This was the second one that was established. And I was in the right place at the right time. There's a lot of wonderful, wonderful people who get PhDs in this field, and there are just not enough jobs to go around. I was one of the lucky ones who, the timing worked out for me. I was finishing my PhD. The job was there. I had been active in the academic kind of circles in Canada. And so I applied for this job and got it, and this is where I've been for the last 11 years. I just was promoted to full professor. I will be on tomorrow, which is Canada Day, but I got the news about that in fall, but it takes effect on Canada Day on July 1st. So the long and short of it, that's how I got to where I am. Just a real story of just studying what it is that you love and hoping for the best. But that's still something I encourage, like studying something that you find interesting, because that's honestly going to be the most rewarding experience in university or any kind of studies, is to do what you're passionate about. And I was, during graduate school, I sort of thought this may or may not land me a job. And if it doesn't, I'm not going to have any regrets, because this has been, it's taught me all kinds of things that can transfer to any career that I have, in critical thinking skills and writing and communications, teaching. So I hope that answers that question. I'm really lucky to be where I am. I say all the time that I feel like I won the lottery. I have the best job in the world, getting to teach what I love and share my love for, this area of study with my students here at the University of Alberta and also with people online. All right, so the other question I have has to do with the 9 realms, and it's from Anastasia Ivanova, and it has to do with the topic of the 9 realms, and a question about the number 9 having some special significance in Norse myth. Yes, absolutely. Number 9, multiples of 3 definitely have significance in Norse mythology, and this is something that a number of scholars have pointed to. And as you correctly point out, it pops up all over the myths. You say Odin hung for 9 days. He hung for 9 days on the world tree, Yggdrasil, in order to gain knowledge of the runes. Heimdall had 9 mothers. The 9 steps of Thor, Ragnarok. There's the 9 daughters of Aegir and Raun. So Aegir is the Jötun, associated with the sea, the personification of the sea, and Raun is the goddess of the sea. So they have 9 daughters. There are also a number of accounts from kind of external sources about a religious practice in medieval Scandinavia that indicate that some feasts that were celebrated in Denmark and Sweden, specifically in Lyra in Denmark and in Uppsala in Sweden, that these feasts kind of took place over the course of 9 days with 9 sacrifices. I don't know if you've heard of Ibn Fadlan before, if you ever watched the movie The 13th Warrior or read Michael Crichton's Eaters of the Dead. That's what that's based on, is Ibn Fadlan. He was an emissary who witnessed a Viking chieftain's burial on the river Volga in the 10th century, and he talks about how the body was sort of kept in ceremony. It was preserved in a ritualistic way for 9 days before the massive burning that he describes. So it's very clear that 9 is an important number, and also 3 and multiples of 3. There are some scholars that have talked about the importance of the number 27 also, so another multiple of 3 and 9 in the Germanic lunar calendar, and it pops up in other Germanic mythologies. There are, various ideas for, I don't think there's any real consensus on why this is, but that's something I can absolutely look more into. The kind of research that I did and the conversations I had with colleagues have kind of, it leads me to believe that there's not total consensus on this issue. Of course, it's a number for fertility. 9 months of gestation is an important number for a lot of reasons. But yeah, you're absolutely spot on there. 9 threes, multiples of 3s, are sort of a mythological number. And yeah, I think that's about all that I have to cover for this time, but keep the questions coming, and I will keep trying to answer them. I am just getting settled again, like I said, really looking forward to continuing to do this. I'm teaching a Norse mythology class at the University of Alberta in the fall semester, and so this is really cool for me to get to do as I'm preparing for that, to sort of see another way in which Norse myth has been interpreted in popular culture. So really excited to see more of the game, and really excited to also hopefully be able to do Ragnarok after this. So, all right, well, have a good one, and we'll see you on the next episode.